many of you have heard of something called counterfact? It sounds like some form of misinformation or a spy technique. And in a way it is, but it happens in our own minds. Counterfact is a really interesting phenomenon that we all use, and it helps us make sense of events in our lives. The question is, are you using it to help yourself or keep yourself down? I want to help you understand this phenomenon so you can start to use it in a positive way to help yourself in your life. So what is counterfact? It is an opposing scenario that our mind creates in reaction to something that's happened to us. How many times have you heard yourself say, either in your head or out loud, something like, well, at least it wasn't X, or that could have been so much worse, or we could have been so good together, or I'd make such a better boss than they would. These are all essentially counterfacts. So let me explain. First, you need to understand there are two types of counterfacts. This is fairly straightforward. There are positive counterfacts and there are negative counterfacts. The strange thing about these is, though, that positive counterfacts are when we imagine a worse scenario in life, something that might have happened to us. And a negative counterfact is when we imagine a better scenario of something that might have happened to us. I know that's a bit confusing and wonky, so let me go over this and follow me here. Imagine you were in a car accident and you broke your arm. Doesn't sound like a great event. But when you think of that event, a positive counterfact would show what actually happened in a positive light by imagining a worse scenario. Something like, well, at least I didn't die, as morbid as that is. By imagining how it could have been worse, you start to see what actually happened in a positive light. Now again, facts in life aren't positive or negative. The fact is the car accident happened, you broke your arm. That's not inherently positive or negative, it's just events. But if we want to, our mind likes to frame events. And if we imagine this worst scenario, we can start to frame the event in a positive way, which actually helps us move on from it. A negative counterfact would be something like, if I'd turned left, that drunk driver never would have hit me. Right? You're imagining a different set of events where it would have had a positive outcome. But by doing that, you're imagining something better, which means you're putting what actually happened, again, which isn't positive or negative, in a negative light. You're making yourself feel worse about these events that just happened. And this often causes us to ruminate on things and imagine the what ifs and feel negative about it, and it makes moving on from whatever it was a lot harder. Let me give you some more examples. Imagine that the bank you worked at was robbed. A positive counterfact would be someone could have died, but we're all safe. Negative would be that robber could have chosen any bank. Why mine? I was so terrified. So again, positive puts what actually happened in a negative light and you feel worse about things, but imagining a worse scenario puts the events in a positive light and it helps you move on. You're turned down for a promotion at work. Positive would be, well, at least I still have my job. Negative, I would have been such a better boss than they are. Again, whatever happened is just events. And by imagining these different scenarios, we start to put events and frame them in our heads. Why not put it in a positive light? Here's another horrible event that could happen. Your house burns down. Positive would be, at least we all get out safe and we're alive. Negative would be, we've lost everything that we owned. So, right, by imagining the better scenario of your house not having burned down and having everything you would have, right, suddenly this event is horrible. By imagining the worst event of your own dying, as much as that's a morbid thing, the event actually feels a little bit better than that, even though it's a horrible event that happened. And again, it can help you start to move on from that. And those are all negative things. And the strange thing is this is actually something that can happen even for positive events, again, events are just events, but something that we might have seen as positive events, but we actually frame it in a negative way to sabotage ourselves. Imagine you were out of a job and looking for work, and you find a job, and you think to yourself, well, okay, good, I've got a job, but you know what? That other one I applied for would have been so much better, right? You just had a good thing happen to you, but you're imagining an even better scenario, which makes the good thing that happened to you feel worse. So that is counterfact. And what I want you to understand is that our minds are doing this all the time. So as much as it might seem morbid to imagine something worse that could have happened, our minds are already doing this. And really what I'm helping you hopefully do is take control of this when this happens. And hopefully start to put things in positive lights as opposed to negative lights. Because, again, the event is just the event. It's just a thing that happened. Why not make it positive? And then to help you move on from that, as opposed to framing it as negative, where you're going to get stuck there and ruminate, and you know, it's really not going to be helpful for you. So that's pretty much it. If you want to talk about more about this, if you're still a little confused and want some more information, drop me a line and we'll have a chat. But yeah, until then, I hope this has helped you in some way to understand your mind a little bit better. And I hope that you are able to dream big, laugh lots, and create. Take care.